Hi everyone, it's me, Monica P. Hall, aka Conduit of Healing. And I wanted to do a video to discuss something that I think people are very confused about. It's one of those things that people assume they know what it is, but I don't think they do. I don't think they understand the process. What am I talking about? I'm talking about healing. Healing. A lot of you are very confused about healing and what it means. Healing is a process. We don't typically heal injuries, physical injuries, overnight. Trauma's not healed overnight. And even a headache takes time. A scratch, a hangnail. My point is this: healing is rarely instantaneous. And we forget all the parts of healing. So let's just break it down here for a second, okay? You have an injury, you have a hurt, you experience pain or discomfort, right? So what's the first step of healing? Acknowledging it. Now, see, this is where a lot of you are going to get stuck right here, right here. The part where you have to acknowledge you're hurting, you're in pain, you're experiencing discomfort, whether it is a physical pain, a spiritual pain, heartbreak, disappointment, loss, whatever. People don't like acknowledging pain and yet expect to jump over pain, acknowledging a pain, and get straight to the part where they're feeling better. That's not how it works. It's not how it works, folks. First of all, you have to say, I'm in pain. I'm suffering loss. I'm grieving. I'm hurting. I'm destroyed. I'm uncomfortable. You have to acknowledge that. There's no way around that part and then get to the part where you're feeling better. And a lot of you try to rush through that. And then what ends up happening? You basically do something self-destructive, because you can lie to the rest of us, but you can't lie to yourself. You can't lie to your psyche, your spirit. You can self-delude. But when you do that, you're really setting yourself up to actually experience more pain because you didn't acknowledge the first pain, and you're actually further away from healing than you were when you first started. So what I do in my practice as a psychic medium, as a Reiki master teacher, as a mentor, and as an intuitive development coach is I create a safe space with you for you to first acknowledge your pain. Whether you're writing about it, whether or not we're talking about it, whether or not it's coming up in a reading, that's the first step. It cannot be avoided, folks. If you cannot acknowledge your pain, you can't heal your pain. Okay, got that part? All right, good. So the next thing is understanding, depending on the wound. And let's just talk about what I do. Okay, so spiritual wounds, emotional wounds, sometimes psychological, but what I've experienced is most wounds that last are spiritual wounds that manifest elsewhere. Childhood trauma, relationship trauma, social trauma. The spiritual aspect of ourselves gets wounded, and then it starts showing up in different parts of our bodies and our psyche, whether it manifests in control issues. I need to control the outcome of everything at all times so that I can avoid the pain that I'm still carrying around from trauma that happened. So what I do is I teach you how to slowly but surely and confidently approach that wound, that spiritual wound, that psychic wound, and find out what's going on. Let's acknowledge it. Okay, I'm in pain. Fine, you got me. I'm in pain. Now what do I do? Well, we're going to have to talk about it. We're going to have to go back to the situation where you received that trauma and put things in a manner of perspective for you to understand yourself in that moment better. A lot of times it's really, really easy to just blame the other person, the person that hurt you. They did. But you're not going to make any changes that way. What you can do is you can acknowledge how you reacted to the situation, what you could have done better, and if there wasn't anything you could have done better in that situation, if you were a child per se and you couldn't control the situation, well, you can acknowledge that now you're an adult and that now you can go back and you can help that younger aspect of yourself through that trauma so that you're no longer hurting as an adult. You can heal the inner child. And I'm sure you've heard about things like that. Here's the real deal about life. If you're going to be here, you're not going to escape any sort of trauma, any sort of pain, any sort of discomfort. It's part of the process and the journey we call life. And here's the other thing you need to understand. You are co-creators in your life. So free will means the universe presents you with an experience. We won't even get into details about what the experience is. You, as a co-creator, get to choose how you will react to the experience. That's it. You don't get to control any of the other players in the experience. You don't get to control the universe in the experience. You. Like, this is it. Me, Monica, you, whatever your name is. You get to control how you're going to react to something, how you're going to verbalize your feeling, how you're going to physically react to a situation, how you're going to deal with the person and the people outside of you in that situation. That's it. So we have to acknowledge that pain and discomfort are actually part of life. It's so funny, right? When we are children and we get hurt, we don't, and when I say hurt, you fall off a bike, you scratch up your knee, you get scratched by a cat, you're me, you climbed up a tree and scraped your leg and now it's your favorite scar on your thigh, but I digress, completely different story. My point is, when we get physically hurt, we understand that process very well. When we get bruised, let's talk about a bruise, right? A bruise, when you first get it, right, it goes through the whole rainbow coalition of the purple spectrum before it's healed. So we can talk about that in terms of healing ourselves. Healing is a process where sometimes it actually looks worse than it is. Like a bruise goes through this process of redness to like bluish purple to straight up purple, and then it starts lightening up. Healing is like that. You got to acknowledge, you got to go back to the wound that wasn't really healed and acknowledge that and feel everything that comes with that. And then you got to deal with your feelings about what happened and your feelings of, the people that were involved, and then acknowledge, okay, I have this information. I understand what happened a little bit better. This is my takeaway. This is how I'm going to change how I react to the situation, or this is how I'm going to move forward in my life with regards to the situation. That's kind of the stages of a bruise. You see what I'm saying? You making the connection? So guys, there's no way to do this thing called life and not constantly experience pain and then seek healing. This is why my tagline is, may energy flow and healing never end. Because if healing ends, you're just walking around in pain all the time, every day, and you become this compounded interest of just pain, right? And we've seen these people walking around, they're just looking like they're in pain and angry and resentful and hurting all the time. They're open wounds, right? And 9 times out of 10, they have the same opportunity that you and I do to, number 1, acknowledge the pain. Number 2, consciously address healing the pain. Number 3, acknowledging I have power here. In this particular moment, I have power. I can decide I'm going to change my perspective of how I see the situation so that I can feel empowered and so that I can move past this. And whether that is forgiving someone else or forgiving yourself or just forgiving the situation, you're empowering yourself. The idea that you can control every aspect of life is delusional. It is ego driven. It's the ego saying, I will protect myself from hurt by any means necessary. By any means necessary can mean you can literally make your life a prison. You're afraid to move in any direction because you don't want to get hurt. You're afraid to have any sort of relationship because you don't want to get hurt. That's not life. In case no one told you, let me tell you a little secret. What's the purpose of life? Why? What's the overall thing that we're all here to do in life? I will tell you. Have relationships. What? Yeah. It's not about your accomplishments. It's about the relationships you built on the way to your accomplishments. And the first and the most important relationship you will have in your life is with yourself. So if your relationship with yourself is built on distrust, dishonesty, denial, fear, anxiety, I already know what kind of relationship you're having with the rest of us. You don't need to tell me, because you can't get to us in a positive, meaningful, loving, healthy way without addressing this. Right? How am I going to get to you without going through this? I can't. So this is why, again, I've talked about this. I'm talking about intuitive development. I'm talking about teaching you and others how to first address this. Now, you were born with this ability. We were all born with this ability. What happened was, when you're a child and you were seeking outside validation and acknowledgement for your intuitive abilities or your feelings and things you felt, your gut intuition, your empathic abilities, your ability to pick up vibes from people and have a sense of them as children. What happened was, the moment you went to an adult to seek validation, they told you, nope, that's not what happened. What you saw, what you felt, what you experienced, that's not what happened. And so you hear that enough times as a child and you stop trusting yourself. And now that's the new norm. Anything you feel, anything you see, anything you hear, anything you experience, let me second guess myself because I was told that I was wrong. And we have to undo that. And the reason we have to undo that is because collectively as a species, we're in a hot mess. We are being led astray from ourselves, from each other, from alignment, from peace, from prosperity, from wholeness, oneness, innate happiness, joy. We're all being just like little timid sheep being herded away off to a cliff, if you will, a spiritual cliff where we're just, you know what happens on cliffs, so I just don't even have to explain that to you. And I'm saying the answer is empowering ourselves to, number one, recognize if we're going to live this life thing, we are going to have relationships because there's no life without relationships. I don't care if it's a relationship with your dog, your cat, your favorite tree. I happen to love trees. Nature. I don't care. It has to be an honest, truthful, and conscious effort for you to get as much out of this life experience as you can. And there's no way to do it and be safe. And when I say safe, I mean there's no way to do it and it be meaningful, memorable, inspiring, happy, more than you ever dreamed. None of that's possible when you're white knuckling the wheel of the car that is your life. Oh, we can't go that way because it looks hard. It looks unsafe. I might get hurt. I mean, who learns to ride a bike and not understand that they might get hurt? Who falls in love and not understand you might get hurt? Who does anything worth anything and not understand there is a risk? I don't know. How do you fail at life? You don't try. How do you fail at life? You don't apply yourself. You're in this safe little bubble where nothing ever happens. You're stifled. You don't grow. You're lost. You're lonely. You're anxious. You see all these things happening around you to other people, and you're like, why isn't this happening to me? Why am I not finding the love of my life? Why am I not living the life of my dreams? Why? Because you're too scared to live. You're more afraid of getting hurt than you are of living. So what I do as Conduit of Healing is I help you learn to trust yourself with yourself. And that's the name of my class, Trust Yourself with Yourself. I help you learn to trust yourself with yourself and understand, yes, there's going to be risk involved, but not to focus on the risk, focus on the reward, focus on the experience, focus on the payoff. Listen, I believe in reincarnation, but here's the kicker. You can only live one life at a time. How do you want to live this one? Do you want to create your own prison, each bar made out of your fears and your anxieties? Or do you want to release yourself wide open and go, hey, you might fuck this one up, but you're going to give it your best. And if you fuck this one up, that's okay. You'll get up tomorrow and you'll try it again. You'll take a deep breath and you'll try it again. Or you'll learn from that situation. Oh, okay, let me assess what I did there. Oh, I could have done this better. Oh, I could have said that. Oh, I could have trusted myself more. I could have taken more of a risk. I could have, okay, all right, great. Let me go do this again. Let me apply what I've learned. And you're going to get different results. But if you don't show up for life, it's not showing up for you. Okay? And so therefore, when we have these setbacks, when we have this discomfort, when we have this pain, you understand, once again, one life at a time, how do you want this to go? Okay? That's what I mean when I say may healing never end. Every time you experience a discomfort, every time you experience pain, understand, if you just allow yourself to move through that, on the other side of it is lessons. On the other side of it is wisdom, knowledge that not only you will have for yourself, but you'll be able to give to someone else so they don't have to go where you just left. I mean, that's beautiful. That's love, if you think about it. Passing on the things that you've learned about a certain pathway in life and not reading it, right? Because everybody loves to read self-help books according to so-and-so. Did you read so-and-so's book? In this step, that is called knowledge. That is not wisdom. Let's not confuse the two. Reading something is about you gaining knowledge on somebody else's wisdom. When you do the work, when you have the experience and you're like, oh, this is what I learned about myself. This is what I learned about people. This is what I learned about love. That's wisdom, and that's yours. And no one can take it away from you. See? So, heal, people. It's worth it. I promise you it's worth it. It's worth it. It's worth it. Just the release of the weight of pain and disappointment and hurt alone, the buoyancy of your spirit will be worth it. It's hard to find joy right now. I understand that. Outside of yourself, it is hard to find joy. So that being said, knowing that you can't control what's going on outside of yourself, knowing that you can create joy within yourself, I'm telling you it's possible. So why aren't you doing it? Let's not be afraid to live while we actually are still embodied. Let's not leave this place with any regrets. Let's give it our absolute best shot while we have the opportunity to do it. Okay? So that's our little lesson on healing. You can only do it when you acknowledge it, when you focus on it, and when you consciously work at it. It's a little process. It's not instantaneous. You will be uncomfortable. It's life. That's how it goes. But me personally, I still feel like the highs outweigh the lows. What do you think? How do you feel about that? I'll leave you to think about it. So that's it. Namaste. Thank you so much for watching. And again, if you haven't liked or subscribed to my channel, please do. There's going to be a lot more videos like this. I know that when people go to psychics and they go to their channels and whatever, they're expecting predictions, but I have a different approach. I feel like if you tapped into your own intuition, you would know a lot more about yourself than not. I feel like if you start acknowledging any wounds that you have, you could transform your life. And I feel like that's a little bit more important than predicting outcomes all the time. Because, like I said, you can only control yourself. You can't control what happens outside of yourself. So let's just focus on where we can actually make effective change. And that's here. Again, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to my page. Share this information. I would be so grateful if you did. And if you want to hear more about my intuitive development course, please comment below or just contact me at one of my contact social media outlets at the end of this video. Thanks again. Namaste.